everyone, my name is Sarah, and today we're going to be talking about the history of bagels. So, how many of you guys like bagels? Ugh, I love me a good toasted bagel with some, fresh whipped cream put on top, sometimes some salmon, some chives. It's so good. So I actually didn't know about the history of bagels, despite the fact that I eat them a lot in my daily life. So I'm excited to share this news story with you. Bagels are a type of ring-shaped bread made from wheat dough. Originating from Poland's Jewish community, bagels are a popular bread product enjoyed worldwide. They are often eaten with cream cheese and other toppings such as ham and smoked salmon. Oh, that sounds so good right now. Can I have one? Oh, okay. I'll eat one after I film this video and I explain these words to you. So bagels originated from Poland's Jewish community. So they came from, or they started in, the Jewish community in Poland. So Jewish in Korean is 유대교인, I believe. And so Jewish people, it's actually not just a religious group, but it's also an ethnic group and a culture. So they have a lot of food items that are very popular around the world. And one of the most extremely popular items, I believe, started by the Jewish community are bagels. So I love me a good bagel. There's nothing quite like it. It's like a savory donut almost. And you got the toppings, you got the ham, you got the smoked salmon, you got the cream cheese. There's just no way to go wrong with a good bagel. So here you can see a traditional Jewish bakery. I believe that this bakery is somewhere in Italy. I'm not exactly sure. But basically Europe had a huge Jewish community, especially in countries like Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic, and Germany. However, you probably know that there's a very sad history with the Jewish community in Europe. So a lot of them unfortunately had to flee or escape to the United States, Russia, or even China. So that's another story for another day. But yes, it's important to know, I think, if you want to kind of explore the influence of the Jewish diaspora, or the overseas community of Jewish people in Western and other societies. According to linguist Leo Rosten, bagels were first mentioned in the ordinances of a Jewish community in Krakow, Poland in 1610. Referred to as a Bagel? I don't speak Polish, I'm sorry. The ordinances mentioned the bagel as a gift for women going through childbirth. So first word, linguist. Well, let's think of some words that kind of sound a little bit like linguist. So language, linguistics, or you can also think of it as a scientist or a chemist. So a scientist is a 과학자, right? Or a chemist is a 화학자. So linguist, it's similar to the word linguistics, which is 언어학 in Korean. So because of that, linguist or a scholar of linguistics is 언어학자. Interesting, right? So this guy, Leo Rosten, he found that bagels were first mentioned in the ordinances or records or rules of a Jewish community in Poland. Whoa, pretty interesting. However, back then they didn't call it a bagel as we do in English. Instead they called it a bagel, which I'm not sure if that's Polish or Yiddish, which is a language spoken by primarily people in the Jewish community around the world. Not exactly sure. But yeah, so this word bagel, it's really similar to the word bagel. So this linguist, this 언어학자, was able to kind of put the two pieces together, that the bagel mentioned in these ordinances was the bagel that we enjoy today. So the ordinances mentioned or talked about the bagel as a gift for women who are going through or experiencing childbirth. So it's interesting. I think in Korea, typically you would give someone who just gave birth, I think miyeokguk or seaweed soup, right? But in the Jewish community in Poland, apparently they gave people bagels. I am not sure exactly why they would give someone who just gave birth a bagel, but if that was me, I would not say no. I love bagels. So I bet pregnant Polish women also probably like bagels. So, of course, this is not a real photograph of a real Jewish ordinance from Poland during that time, but it's just to illustrate the fact that it was in the records at the time. And here you can see some Hebrew, which is the language that ancient Jewish people spoke. By the 17th century, the bagel was seen as a staple in Polish cuisine. During the 19th century, bagels started selling throughout London, showing the bread's popularity was spreading. So the bagel was mentioned for the very first time in history in 1610, which is the beginning of the 17th century. And at least by the end of that century, the bagel was already seen as a staple in Polish cuisine. So here, staple, it doesn't mean, the little piece of metal that goes inside a stapler or a hotchkiss. It's not that. People would not want to eat staples or, put together their paper with bagels. That wouldn't make any sense. So staple, it's more like a 주식, or something that people eat every day. So for instance, in Korean cuisine, rice would be a staple food item. So it became extremely popular extremely quickly. And it's also important to remember that most people in Poland are not Jewish. So the fact that this Jewish Polish food item was able to spread all over Poland and become a staple in Polish cuisine so quickly, this is actually pretty cool. And this is all before the internet. This is before most people could read. So it's not like people were like scrolling through, medieval Instagram and they're like, oh, this bagel thing looks good. I think I want to make that. So it's really impressive that they were able to spread it so quickly. And during the 19th century, or the 1800s, bagels started selling throughout or all around London. So already, so bagels started out in Poland, which is in Eastern Europe, and then by the 19th century, they're already all the way over in London, which is west of Western Europe, which is very impressive. This occurred in under 200 years. And so already, there were bagels all over the place in London, and this shows that the bread was spreading in popularity. Bagels were introduced into the US by Polish Jews in New York City around the early 1900s. As they were handmade by small bakeries within the city, bagels did not receive nationwide attention until the 1960s. Thanks to the invention of automated bagel machines, bagel producers became more mainstream by the late 20th century. So, for 200 years, everyone was enjoying these bagels in Poland, in London, all over Europe, and then over in the United States, we were still bagelless, very, very sadly. But fortunately for us, Polish Jews introduced or brought or showed them for the very first time bagels around the early 1900s. So New York bagels are actually famous all around the world for being super, super good. So if you ever get a chance to travel to New York City, I highly recommend that you try one at least once. They are very, very good. However, bagels were not mainstream and they did not receive nationwide attention. So they did not receive attention from all around the country until the 1960s. So it's actually pretty recently that the bagel craze kind of started in the United States. Thanks to the invention of automated bagel machines, so these, before we had to make them all by hand, and this took a really long time and it probably made the price more expensive. But because they were able to automate or 자동화 the process, they were able to make bagels a lot faster. And because the more bagels you can make, the more bagels you can sell, the bagels became mainstream by the late 20th century. So thanks to these people, thanks to these machines, people like me can enjoy bagels for breakfast all the time. So, so good. So here you can see lots of different types of bagels for sale. I believe this is a bakery in the United States. Very cool. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed this history of bagels. I'm really hungry now, so I think I'm gonna actually go try to find and eat a bagel if I can. But if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure to let us know in the comment section below. I hope that all of you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all again next week. All right, see you guys later. Bye.